Manzar Sado Samaya Manapalaya Manzar Sado Tinoba Tijaja Mebawa Sudo Kayo Mebawa Sabo Kayo Mebawa Anurado Mebawa Sara Sarda Mami Jaya Sara Karma Sistame Zida Shirak Hong Ha Ho Bangawan Sara Tadanga Manzar Mami Manza Manzar Bama Samaya Sado Banzar Sado Samaya Manapalaya Banzar Sado Tinoba Tijaja Mebawa Sudo Kayo Mebawa Sabo Kayo Mebawa Anurado Mebawa Sara Sarda Mami Jaya Sara Karma Sistame Zida Shirak Hong Ha Ho Bangawan Sara Tadanga Banzar Mami Manza Banzar Bama Samaya Sado Banzar Sado Samaya Manapalaya Banzar Sado Tinoba Tijaja Mebawa Sudo Kayo Mebawa Sabo Kayo Mebawa Anurado Mebawa Sara Sarda Mami Jaya Sara Karma Sistame Zida Shirak Hong Ha Ho Bangawan Sara Tadanga Banzar Mami Manza Banzar Bama Samaya Sado Banzar 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 Sado Yamsan Chokka Ngudra Ni Pamam Jone Jisa Chang Kurdam Kanju Mambuk Jiji Jisa Dodra Ji Shenji Laji Shasa Soro Mao Banzar Gura Pama Sarda Yergena Janza Pama Kesra Dombol Yamsan Chokka Ngudra Ni Pamam Jone Jisa Kurdam Kanju Mambuk Jiji Jisa Dodra Ji Shenji Laji Shasa Gura Pama Sarda Yergena Janza Pama Kesra Dombol Yamsan Chokka Ngudra Ni Pamam Jone Jisa Kurdam Kanju Mambuk Jiji Jisa Dodra Ji Shenji Laji Shasa Gura Pama Sarda Oma Banzar Gura Pama Sarda Oma Banzar Gura Pama Sarda Oma Banzar Gura Pama Sarda Kila da jang sura da bim di da so kang do ne bi sa sho sa na dang war pong da su jwa 主动专心别人杂的所人，也见了相藏，爸妈给死了东波了，严孙出国我这你爸妈叫你几十种。Kurdum kanju mambu kuru kiki jisi dalju ki shingi lachi shasi guru pama sirdu yin kina shansan pama kisir dumbul yamsun chuku nguju ni pama joni jisi Kurdum kanju mambu kuru kiki jisi dalju ki shingi lachi shasi guru pama sirdu yin kina shansan pama kisir dumbul yamsun chuku nguju ni pama joni jisi Kurdum kanju mambu kuru kiki jisi dalju ki shingi lachi shasi guru pama sirdu bandra guru pama sirdu bandra guru pama sirdu Kila da jang sura da bim di to so gang do ne bi sa shu sa na dang gar pong da zu ju a chu dong zhan xin bei ren da de so re
Om Nam Tata Nam Tong Ram Chen Lân Trơ Bờ Trà Xì Trong Chen Chang Na Chư Ba Ye Sang Chi Chu Kinh Tân Bang Bờ Thọ Cần La Trong Thơ Tăng Cho Trà Xì Shô Trùm Mê Chang Tát Tân Tôn Trơ Gong Chan Bê Chang Hoa Kê Trọ Hoa Tân Ba Cần La Gong Ba Gia Chê Trong Lâm Bồ Tát Bờ Tát Trơ Hoa Tân Nơ Thiểm Chen Tam Chen La Gong Trọ Bờ Hoa Ra Yơ Tâm Ta Ba Ta Rơ Trọ Hoa Ra Thiểm Thân Tâm Tụp Trà Xì Hoa Bê Rơ Ba Tê Vơ Shang Ba Gia La Shang Sa Lôn Cha Hoa La Shô Hoa Tân Tô Trinh Tân Cha Rê Tông Gom Bồ Shang Bờ Hoa Ra Sa Yi Nhang Bồ Trơ Ba Nam Bờ Rơ Sơ Rơ Nam Kê Nhang Bồ Pham Chô Cân Đơ Bakar la shang da no ra la ra zhe nye ma yi shang za lao nung ta xi hua jin shang zhe zen hua yan la shang za lo ren chen dong zhong zha xi se jin dong zhong wen zhong ye wong ga ma la yan zhe dong dang pen zo hua ri ma ne yang zhen wang jin gu lu de ren chen dang zhong jie ji shang zhen chen zhong di jia rom xiu chang ji pi de ma gong song mo zhan bei huan bei de wa zha xi la mo jia la shong zhen lo zang ba qian bo dim zhong zhen mei wa me dong dan dang jia bo yang gu re zhong ba ji bo dang long me me zang nam de zhen bei la zhen gu lu Trần Sư La Tông 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 Đô Chi Chân Bà Hoa Ra Trâm Chú Tín Giam Sinh Tân Sạc Sư Mơ Nê Sư Ghê Lô Trà Xì Bê Lên Chư Tín Trung Hoa Gia La Sông Sa Lô Ta Cha Tông Xa Hoa Sông Ba La Quảng Tông Nhê Vân Xê Hoa Kinh Sinh Đô Tông Hoan Bà Rơ Sam Tông Yê Sinh Trà Xì Tê La Bà Sơn Thô Bà Rơ Xô ma chang de na ba mi rang chin ne lo chen nya ma na a chen bo hwan chu ka na an dai do chi chu ju tian wang chu de chi chi cha de ba ma ja ru kon de ma ho je na zhe dan na wa chin ne ra ka so a ye xin ban de wa ra de chong do pe ja ru de chin ne de 马来西给用着的心嘛，着的那上天花就得动个。我们的都是花无着给做，那东年把钱不忙你的多，都这个个几这什么用，刚没三个下这刚三个。我在马不过的用了就，这是当地的有想的不是。都这上把钱不特技能，男女我正都给说的上。都这下街上把钱不也，能知的话钱不东西的吧。太经知战我如个了钱，都是公我喜欢学学吧。让这大宋万个啦送啦，给别说完的送。木州做内心热我在爱想干嘛？生家嘛花特技偏了也得啦嘛呢，就没得伴奏下了说吧，的公鸡的多半破门心结罗，内心的我在爱想干。生家花特技偏了也得啦嘛呢，就没得伴奏下了说吧，的公鸡的多吧破门心结罗，内心的我在爱想干嘛？生家嘛花特技偏了也得啦嘛呢，就没来伴奏下了说的公鸡半破心结罗。
네, 쇼치가 완도시나 가츠 포크 가이다나. 저거는 저희나 하장 랑깅 산노타나 로몽스가 로종시기 고름 쳤다나. 단도 지 치전탕 납자라즈래. 당상 결급 모고 드나 되니 응ur제 샹톤 강속수 이로나. 당운이 지쿠 난돈 듣고 손이나 다 텔레 잡으면 박바리 삼기었대요. 다 옛날에 아주 워크도 워익도 지금 머르 뇽뇽 그다나 더총 쉣고니나 때 다리가 탑간 지타네야나 깔리 커보요 사즈레 때나 가티 때 머르 다 총총 그간다 지금 머르 쳔보즈 그까토가 비르토인지즈 있니나 남지근 이렇게는 수 머르 그까당 이겐도 수 냠조지즈 있나 니 난돈 포좀 소반도 때니 머르 아장 그까토나 요네야 로암 지적 네가 바르다 때라 반바 요지르고 산네 되니 이 지르춘 가레다 좀춘 가레가나 되니 지 머르 심말라 다리 반비치인 제 mam보셈용
and then I through learning having immersing myself in Tibetan language and culture I regarded Tibetan then I come to regard and consider Tibetan language and culture priceless. And I see the need to preserve it, to sort of communicate its values. And in the sort of exhibitions and galleries in the West, you see Tibetan Buddhist scriptures being preserved and in display. And I think it's amazing if the message is also being communicated. I think that would be of great significance. But I think when it comes to if we regard Tibet, it's a minor. The population is very small. It's as a sort of minority, as a minor sort of nationality, it's very difficult to guarantee the preservation of one's culture. And then if I translate it into the language of a major or of a big, a dominant nationality, I think the Tibetan wisdom and Tibetan culture will go on living in different languages. And this is why one of my another intention, motivation to translate. And I also in my prefaces to my translations and my own works, I express my own intention, motivation, saying that even if it does not benefit this generation, a current generation, I say I hope it will, my translations and my work will benefit the generations to come, to the future generations.
다 마음만 나가서 르그네인도 tani yin rung warak ni tab ta matab tani kanchi tadnayang tari tokpa kangar mangboz yo konre chire zena tandi tichu thong thong zgarang na shir zanglang gartang na khoirna ngama tani ngchu khabar dan dimo lam gane na phansan tani tab damchung lamni tari ga ta kharsan tera amuksur kene kharnam niga ina jagan zambolang go ma thamche kam rera shi kyor tab de bogo sonore 대전도는 다 코리크 르네 초 담치됐나 당선 가리게 되나 르네 잔지랑 그제온제 다 졸리 서지슨 쳤다나 만나 다리건데 당 수다리 짐셔zer 고난 자가 당럽 근처치게 디럽데 되니 기롱 다 당선 잠올은 코리크 담쳤다 되니 가르 첨보 가르 총총 담쳤 말은 기름게 주기다나 머르 첨보단 야급 첨보거니 되니 잠올은 것도 그 야급 다 총총데 초 담쳤다 라라라 다리건 측준 잠은 잠 종게 라라 다리가 잠했다 동게 다 띠라서 바거 육전 자당만 자자다 되니 장사요 간사요 너리 뒤쪽 근거로 왔다 문다 만자고 묵스 잔즈 뜨고디 맞솔 다리 샘크르 몸보즈 요거래
Therefore there is doubt and anxiety for us regarding the durability of Tibetan culture, the stability of Tibetan culture. We live in an age of internet and electronic communication technology, but still then we have the angle, the aspect of what some people call cultural imperialism, where we get to see these dominant major cultures assimilating and dominating minor cultures. And so with minor cultures and sort of also dominant nationalities, once again sort of showing their predominance over minor people, sort of national groupings or nationalities. And for this reason, there are, as we're concerned, there are anxieties.
Pena 가상 대랑 그 뒤서야나 엔지 야급 그 사근 코릭 된자 침보즈 말에 모양 파르치를 다 시친 적든 야르마 뭐 된자 몸보즈 말에 레다는 다 지송 그 skat도 왜냐 그건 잠보는 거 왜나가 좀 남질란 그네 있나 되니 엔지 같도 되니 다 야급 다 사차 하정 용식 막 도제면 가상 아다리가 요요더는래 대신도 니 르네다는 산로 너쇼고다리 페나 로닌 다가 치긴 나라는 단 잠오는 것만 탐치 그다가 요네 다 디무고 디르즈 송원제 뜨인나 카르틴디 르잡중 그 카쇼 할에 지금 잠오는 것만 탐치라 판바 요는 있나 다 대양 다리가 용든즈 요래 레다는 디다 멈통의 거도 아주 잠는 거 지금 머르 냠총다나 대전더 까잉 냠총 치망보즈 되네 remji 단 직든 되네 파로스 다리 큰 조건제
So for example, if we look at Great Britain, it's in terms of territory, it's very small. In terms of population, it's very small. But its language is very powerful, influential, dominant. And in terms of its spread and dominant predominance of its culture and language is huge. If a good film comes out, one needs to sort of, through itself, it illustrates and demonstrates the dominance of language and culture. So this, if maybe is something, there could also be, of course, benefiting things that happen, that has got sort of global beneficial effects. It might be, if that's the case, that is good. But also it has this negative impact where sort of weak or minor nationalities and languages gets totally overwhelmed.
당아 진등거 정통 강가래 송디 드네 이게 가래도 다 직된들의 시차르 이게 제이다는 값신 것던 것 팀업지요지들이 단 남인다 템 통치론디 니 냥나라요 지금 조트메 비 나즈크 차즈크 초라 김보티 모즈듬 정건도 그 또이나 다 초라 다디나 다리 대런드네 야나 키르나발라 거롱저거나 레지나 드네 마온르금나 드네 지금 머르기나 다 세나 허르나 참마거 야르크마 참마거 야르크마나 먼저가요 말다 있나요 맞추 잠불는 그 머르소 탐치 그 줄긴 가이 너소 니버장가나 중축고 타다 드네 시험바 탐치 그 ndala 송록던 거지스 레삼가 카티 스카탄 이게다 잠불는 거다 머르 강롱즈 그 납송이나 데네 존테 담 개발남거 송마르다다 머르티가 다 책쪽 탐칫 보고 족송들이 챗송들이 데니 존테 단 직된 감디 머르게라 할레치 그 차추다는 요던 요지잔지게나 틱조진데라 또 라나메피 데니 지 흥어죽 그 여스케르비 요던 망보즈고 나야나 데니 존테 마춘조아미 시쿨리스탄가 다 람지테 vat송들이 다 데인정나 데니 참멘디 타다 솜록당 거고
It's good, of course, one can speak Chinese or English, whatever language, but I think, sorry, I've forgotten. Every time when I visit a museum or a gallery, sometimes I come across a display or a label saying extinct language. And that gives me a sharp pang in my sensibility, a huge sharp pang, and it really worries me. So, of course, if you speak Chinese or English, that's good, but my wish, my appeal to all of you is that to respect, to research, to work towards the preservation of languages and cultures of minor peoples, minor nationalities. I think this is vital. As great scholars say, once a people's language disappears, then the life force of that people vanishes. Then that people comes to an end. That civilization comes to an end. And I think this is really true. And what is happening is that when a language disappears, then with it we lose the wisdom and the beneficial effects and impacts of this culture accumulated over years, and that disappears and that vanishes with it and from this world. And therefore I would like to appeal all of you towards the preservation of languages and cultures of weak peoples, of weak nationalities, of minor nationalities all over the world.
다 동랑이 디스타츠르드 ndursaravdina teni ngatsu churjing nangna chi chapar chachu dang dambe teni renthangar tawa monzu da teni gongshi monzu yo gyondo changme chongkyop da tsachong shirko ji da teni yang ji dangsang ge sartu karna banda yang name taman joge changme di tada zunun shirko teni sartu ta churjin nikanda thangri garar tardar na yang 동거 동거 흑사르tud 코나다 흑사르지 코나랍 상로당지지나 나츠 쭈르진 납소나 남지가 내ርከ나 데 로아마생데 게다 신더 양지 다 릉거 랑락비 데네 셰바 포르타바진 기르 닌카 쳔보레 Tena Tandani Zo Samsrtela, Teni Jorjing Rignin the Chungchupko, Ramanji Stand, Teni Tari Tatermirchim done the shotne, Teni Tansanga, the Tsari Luxury Najaga, Tanrup Rigni, the Sula Teni, the Ganroama Ranga, the Lamtela, Tam Higi, Sumba Yachimbo, Shena Hajan Yabore Samkyo.
My idea, my thinking is this, that we make an effort to preserve what is valuable in traditions, in traditional knowledge that is accumulated over years, over thousands of years. These valuable things must be preserved, and an effort must be made. But of course, along with embracing the new, so tradition and innovation sometimes comes into conflict with each other, but not necessarily always conflictual. We must learn and preserve the wisdoms and the values and the sort of priceless merits of the tradition, whilst embracing innovation, whilst embracing the knowledge of the new, for instance, science and technology, and all this, in embracing this in a way so that the path of humanity is progressive in such a way that it embraces this both of these aspects, both forces.
The name Jigdo Taterang Chapter so Wogid Nantan Zeonina, the Wogid Nantan of Samlo, the Dunda, Ani, Kernambala, the Jujig Serzergona, Kernambala, the Yondis Jikin.
Finally, today's other theme is the Tibetan Buddhism, and I would like to just present two themes briefly to you as a suggestion. Two themes touching Tibetan Buddhism.
Tangi Lopchatana, Flojung Korum Trotter, Nipaziga, Wogid Nantonla, Tanu Maimbi, Kachus go Chirezena, Kapshet Tonardan, the Injectina Huis Gondre, Dedon Ravachanga, Sud, Tenehuidam Kebazginam, Kebati, Kane Chertrip Shapajan, the Tun Rantok, Tate Nyamselenze. Su Nantung Captela, two some gum some zeki, two bab gumba sambazeki, yonje, Yana Dariga te, Kipson Zansum zaitan, Ram Kiberker, Tene Dariga, Runga Kumshut, Yahazi, the Zut Dariga, Janab Zung Shavaga, Jampang Shava Javan zeki yonje. There's in the stab gum show some zekironda, Stavadam Gumba Shopa zeki, Dursravdina, Kibazgin zonte, Ranyang. Darim Kebati Lamde Chida, Deni the Janla Pambab Jupjo, Dan de Muni Janega, Dansan Lupcha Chimbo, and the Division Dana, Sachan Garin Garina, the Kashikataka Halitika Dariga, Keba Chimbo, and the Chachin Narana, young Hungus, Tun Lalinga. Tangdana, Division Dana Shava, Rangatang Kurichundi, young Kasha Namato Zem, and Tunti Zamzig, the machine, Timogan, Nitzer Monsgonje, the Nanga to Ojin, think Makatsamaga, Kashtundun, Zergona, Kanzaka Womboramba, Jadam and Jamombo Yoreta, Yena, Slaksu, Nandunda. Tene ta yacha gyade yana chamaz tana tene chi khato of shat no the tuntuar dan da tuntuar dan no da jana dare phambab jupju nimu lakso nandun z nge yem sam gyo tene na cher namba soina khasan terang da dari tene sharnap ko ta chenye song tene shokang ta kana tene chi lamne na de chargilen ko na jimjik shir ko na hachang dari tab de bore tene na namba su de yinda mang ka thak tene bojin nang tang ka lakso nandun tela
Through my own experience of studying Tibetan Buddhism, learning Tibetan Buddhism, one of the unique features of Tibetan Buddhism is what Tibetans say, Kapshil Tonlarniwa, which is to practice what one preaches, to implement what one preaches. Or to behave in the way that one preaches. And these are conveyed through what Tibetan Buddhism is teaching is not necessarily just rhetoric. It is something practical. It must be something that is implemented. Hence we will have phrases like tu samagum, which is learning and reflection and meditation. These three aspects of learning Tibetan Buddhism. And also we have again, Buddhist view and meditation practice, meditative practice, and Chupa and the conduct. They're all interrelated and they're all implemented within this way. And then we will have another phrase called the Krypton Johnson, which is a practitioner must practice, must embrace Buddhist Tibetan Buddhism through learning, through disciplinary sanctity, through probity, that is, and then through the practice of kind-heartedness. And these are, so in the West, for instance, in the modern sort of academic environment, of course they're great teachers, with amazing erudition, and great teachers who teach and who give incredible lectures. However, when it comes to practice, there seems to be an absence, a lack of practice between what one preaches and what one believes and what one practices. And when it comes to Tibetan Buddhism, this is vital. The link between what is taught, what is thought, and what is practiced is absolutely vital. Hence, kapsul tonlagniwa, and what one must practice, what one preaches, and what one preaches must benefit others, must benefit other sentient beings. And this is a unique characteristic of Tibetan Buddhism. And my suggestion is that, my sort of appeal is that all of you are researchers, scholars, and investigating, some of you investigating Tibetan Buddhism and things, and maybe one might need to investigate if this is the case.
Tani ta tunda nibada tani nangchu go wojid nangtang go mo mayin bi kyachu do tani janba to nroa mo to jeba go kin nan jaga tani raptu chungwa nan jaga te mayin ba go tana tndro yanchu go jang go tun chuk jo de go song ji di zawa de de go wojid nangtang go loksu go song ji ta loksu de gang ne yong ji na dangsang zambo lang na lopcha cheshu chi nga shu tani hwar nalan chare tani hwar nalan chene chugyo de ramji tani woyer ka tari ga ta lopcha cheshu nga shu zo tari sami manjer sami tani xigla kan tere ta tani ramba jin da nga chu gomba so so la chege kirong tar gomba ina dangsang gari ga sam lop ta na chi gomba zeki de ta rangkar ka mar go yawe ta na de chawa chame changare de nang ga chi ding ding na ma to zema na chi jang ga kyun so wan ji da kyun so ko sha ma jib ju chi ta lo to gari dangsang nga chu tari gan khoring gari na timo yok kon da to ngune ga chi go je na tang ga ton la charji yo na da jimji yo na zga se ikro na timo zga tari ga son na mare ta zu je na ta ga ma ga ya.
The second unique feature of Tibetan Buddhism is, but Buddhism practiced by laity or clergy, is to benefit others and to work for the benefit of others. And this is the main objective. And this is the main aim and objective of the monastic, Buddhist monastic education system, which can be traced right back to Nalanda, the great Nalanda University in India, which is regarded as the oldest university in the world. And from Nalanda, the tradition was transmitted to Tibet, to Sami Monastery, the earliest monastery in Tibet. And from Sami Monastery, it spread to other monastic institutions all over Tibet. So some of us, and some people are saying, might be thinking that Tibetan monastic institutions are just there where some shaven-head monks just sit inside and do some religious practice. and it seems to be sort of there's the link between society and the monastic institutions are broken, but this is really not the case. If you look at the true sort of objective of it, is that to benefit others.
Gare sanlo khoina gomba se kit chi ranga yara chi sonde shetsa dana television dana chi chodmin chotsa ga chi timu khoriga sanlo tang ga ga ta te gombi chashi nyongshi sere khzu da re gomba zang de gyondo go den laksu ga rawas da laksu khoriga chen to wonje te inna nga chu woje nang tong gam tartik gam yernd ta changma ga lisim la da re pambar te jo de 그러나 아주 가슴대로 라롱 가르게 있나 때네 지 다 쉬운 거 차리야라 그치즈도 좀 돈보 돈이 그런데 때네 야이리 있는자 워이리 있는자 그 사샤 소소소소 송아 그런 때네 지 랑거 쳇다 랑거 지 게르제다 랑거 톱 나탕다나 지 찬냐저 니모 탐치나 돈도 머니를 밀고네 때네 창말라다리가 때네 로츠 시기다나 창말라다리 럭줄 시기고 너 가슴대로 아주 다 출고 로종가 너나 타바 친부 출고 되는데 인디 냠치 타르트 받는데 손제 근데 그러나 닝원이 있나 다 말로 때네 토머 로종 시바가 고존에 따가 다 파르칠 다리거 데간데네 말로 섬친르지레 니나 지금 수암록 당지와 양태연 샤워 접지와 양태연 단 니초도 지금 강을다나 지금 대전다나 지금 가츠 자다만 좀 찾는다 옛날에는 또 지금 책에 나나 찾는지 말해 강다리 맞수 지금 연라다리 판박 좀나 너 지금 하장 가르쳐와들에 뛰는 거요는 지금 무슨 랍숑군 코리스가 지금 쳇도 없게 다나 때라 지금 답변 잠수다 로종 좀 많이 봐 가슴다랑 잠보는 거 다나 뭐뭐뭐 그 리심라다 그 가르니 하장 최고디데 단 내라다리가 판바주기 샤워 줄거요 정리했던 게 어느 지금 랑그 초르나 잠라야 지금 다 야침보 zirgonar 까모레다나 야 지금 차 니진 zik었던 거네 뭐뭐 zik야나 리심나 지금 여러 야침보 좀 정담 좀 말해
and the monastic education system, we might think that some people might think that it is just for saying prayers and undertaking pujas and lighting butter lamps. But this, yes, this is some of the aspects, but it is not, these are not the main aspects of a monastic institution. The main aspect of a monastic institution, the main feature, the main function is that it is an educational environment. It is an educational environment in which it instills the intention to benefit others, to help others. And this is the main fundamental aim of the monastic education system. For instance, in Larangar, also when students finish their learning and go and venture outside, go to other places to teach, the main thing is that not out of self-interest they teach. Try to teach with the intention to help others or to make other people learn, not out of self-interest, an interest for material gain or an interest for one's reputation. This is not the main intention. And for myself, I have been a monk and studying and in my own Larangar institution for now 30 years. And over these 30 years, one came across, of course, faced hardships in life and encountered all sorts of challenges in life. But that happens, that's nature, way of life. But what I was motivated by is the intention to benefit others. And so this is, in terms of Tibetan monastic institution, the intention, the motivation to benefit others is of paramount importance. And this applies not only just for monastic institutions, this of course applies when it comes to global beings, all over people or human beings all over the world. When I came to the West and everything, is the intention to benefit other human beings, both mentally and physically.
하더니 지도 스카치지요. 제 스카치지도 처리잖아. 맞소 무스단 쓰였나. 소유 기름 그 줬다. 더니 지금 당래 다 지금 대치근 소화라 저티야 요지. 당래 아까드금 창라 특디야 요지. 강따리는 런거 지금 시럽라 때네다나. 그 맞세는 그 강다 강차장나 때 니버도 기드고비 비름스긴디 런기 탐케당 시럽라 때네 때 람치리가 따디 람치르실리데 조지 강아 특나야는 점바 침부 마시 셈때 하루 데모르키보다 셈이는데 그냥 소보 왁 페바 데스타비 응한다 조지진나 지 당선거 있나 자가 맞세는 거 지 샤와 강 있나 지 쳇도 지금 상아 지 물론 맡아봤다나 돈은 맡아봤지 침보도 요 말에 내가 아주 지다 오get나타나 지금 냠는지 기스 오늘에 추대 냠는 somno 못한데 되니 남식은 그러나 지금 샤와 강아 특나양나 띠 등근은 그 소라 요요늘에다 요나야나 소라 된지 잡고 매되나 지 강따령 샤완데 저 탐치다나 되니 시럽다는 비고 랑도르시지 니바다는 바스는 저지요늘에네 된디 참아 결남바야나 되니 너지그 참아라 되니 다리금 지도 리심 다가 데모 용화다나 리심 데탕 용위 다가 문던지기인 가전치
Lastly, for all of us in the journey of our life, one comes across periods of hardship, one comes across period of happiness. Of course, we all experience this, but to deal with these experiences, especially the challenging phases of one's life, we have certain wisdoms and methods. And this wisdom, in terms of Tibetan Buddhism, and this wisdom is that to have a relaxed mind, to have an open, easy mind, to be able to embrace challenges in life. So, to take it easy, maybe that's translator's input, but we have this wisdom that is gained through what Tibetans call nyamlin, experiential practice of Dharma. And so lastly and finally, I would like to, and through this sort of method of wisdom that brings relaxation, openness, and a sort of equilibrium to one's mind. So lastly, I would like to wish you all a sort of relaxed and a happy mind and body. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kabo, for that wonderful talk. It was really very inspiring to hear about the process and the duration of your life, which has spanned so many amazing experiences. We have about 40 minutes now for some questions. So if you would like to ask a question, please raise your hand or come over here. It's fine either way.
I listened with great interest to the experience of the Kempola about translating, but I was wondering, the Kempo stressed how important it is to preserve Tibetan culture, and is doing it, of course. We are trying to do the same in the Western, but in the Western academia. But I was trying to understand what we are doing. Is it right or wrong? Because we are approaching the text from a philological point of view, and we are not, well, most of us are not Dharma practitioners. So when we approach the text, we do it from a secular point of view. And I was trying just to figure it out what the Kempo's take is on that. Are we doing it right or wrong?
단데 네데랑 네 종급제난 자가 실급 그르네가 전탕제고 난데 저 추가 따빠다는 추담 제라고 왕도시금에 추담 맘제라고 그르네데라 베나가 추오기나 오그 추단 오그 그르네니가 잘마시바르다와즈도 지론제 대비전도 머르가 장가 그르네인데 소이나요 라라 추다 타कर 금제라노 라라 추당 제라 메차양 요는데 更다리양 르종데 땅이 종교 고거세 종교 게나요 또지 런커가 다 짐지가 이게 잠스다나 짐지가 수상로 요는 잠스가 말이까 때라 짐지가 시다나 티 회나 종교 마시누 니바 가르창드 당선 잠올는 게 있나 다 가르ꯛ 다리가 년레전도 가르ꯛ 몽즈 납게 요카 대전도 머르기야는 몽즈든 척이야가 단디 년카다나 단디 기카니가 선로다 드니 지 무스던 세나 라랑 수수구나 링겐즈 요너레 디 링겐데 때 이다나 다 종축고 샤와데 짐직시나 탑스른들 고지 디 탑스르답자 디 탑스르답자는 잠승은 말은 드니 머라랑 수수야나 또 무톡거 그 샤와레 줍지즈 있니나 당원에 디 가르침보레 삼고요.
I am of course not talking about preservation of culture, not necessarily from a religious point of view. I'm not saying that one needs to be religious to be able to preserve Tibetan culture or to work towards it. And of course, Tibetan culture is indivisibly interlinked with Tibetan Buddhism. So it's very difficult to separate. But of course, one can work towards it without being religious. But I think one, of course, can work towards it, but I think one can't stop, just say, okay, I'm doing a research, and then think that that is part of the preservation of Tibetan culture. I think it's very important to look into what happens, how many languages and cultures are disappearing and has disappeared in the world. And when that happened, what happened? And then, in order to prevent that, what kind of method, research method or preservation method one can find. And not only the process of investigation into this, but also I think then one should try to personally also sort of contribute towards the preservation, implement it, not just doing a sort of a research and trying to find a method.
Kimurumuchi des Oxford Sulalabra Pegola Gasuda Tashidele Shutambude. Tangi Tewadi Gurgi Kolayi. Tene that Hensan Pegi Namten Kanguta Tingula Soba Sangma Kiri Shembenalpa Gurduore. Chesa Pebe Keba Mangochita, Chige Keba Mangochigi, the Yabushira Sigore. In a Kachigi. And Rangi in a Yubegi, soon of Samachilla Gushana, they get in it, saying Ages like good sagre, then Shembatsugi, Puketa, Kosa, Pijam Mogove, Netanshaduzamba, and Rangi Tursa Rangi Tursa Rangi, two of the Chikores on Tikola, Kunsi Karionasa. Thank you.
Lasso. The Tandi Trava de Nga Tarngayanayo, Mombogo, Gonyon. Teni the Chushoko Lanzana, Teni Jikten Shokolan in the Pian. Teni Chushoko land of Tani Nataga, Sanjip Jondan Dega, Tachu Shonda Yanina, the Roa, Rismachapa, Lairkatan, Lodon Nojentan, Roa, Tamchikata Tari, Dakachin Chateau, Songe, Teni Chirondi, Teji, where Nangachaka Popa, Kunaga Chun the Yamsel and Chotana. Tene, Jambag Murdan, Dimozo Tamchaka, the Yamsel, Manin Zaidana Sanjig Chu, Kabnatari, Son Mare, Chu the Dari, Che, Chehu, same Ching and Toncho agenda, as then see on the Chu the Yamsel and Chosiki, Teok, the Yenina, Chudan to Garas Mare Sangyo, Chigre. Tene, Nisi Darigatan, Jisting on the Shiki Janzi Yenina. Tene Zambolung Carson Terran Kai in Nantaga, Rigni in Nantaga, Dumons Katari Kunina, Carteti, Rigni in the Rantan Janzina, Tene Tamons Katariga, the Nishistervatana, 대전도 판토바래 가르팅 수다리가 다 르종도 양직 쫀당 담바 대전도는 더 지르잖아 저도 먹고 봐다 물론 바진이나 대장가 마고 익상접시기 잔지나 대 캬추던 담바즈레다 옛나요 직된 쇼동도 신이나 당아 주고 그르니 따니 하나니 따마트 그와르다 되니 장마도 그는 로아미 릭스 요도 쪽 탐질라 판바 톡지마 토지마 노바 대치즈 메가세고 오늘에 되니 따 돈도 선바가 타기나 당상도 지 가수 워크 다리가 다 추인 난자가 찌진 난자가 장마라 상로 하정 그 가로인도 그 되니 단정거 제 랍도 숑하다나 랍도 숑 마임바가 다 탁숨 야침보 요바주 니 타다다리 샤 줍담 줍진바 연거요니나 다지 시첩그 진가리가 따스르 몽보요레다 옛나양 텔라다리가 구바마토 제면노 노파요티 마레고 삼주 망지때인라
I have been asked this question several times, so I've come across it, and I gave it. I usually give two answers from two different perspectives, from a dharmic perspective and from a secular perspective. And from a dharmic perspective, Buddhism and Buddha Dharma is advised by Lord Buddha himself to be propagated to all sentient beings, not just to other people and other nationalities, but to all sentient beings, and it should not be barred from anyone. Everyone should have access to it. It's like water. It's like a river that can be that nourishes everyone and all the beings. That is the metaphor for Buddha Dharma. And so, in that case, yes, we need to translate, and there's benefit for translating it. From a secular perspective, we need to ask the question: if we translate, does that benefit other people? Our culture Tibetan culture has an inherent beneficial quality to other people. To my mind, from the ancient times, our culture is such that it benefits other people, other nationalities. So therefore, it's important to translate it. But also, do we have anything to hide? Anything negative to hide? Anything that is detrimental to other people, to the well-being of beings? I don't think so. From the ancient times, we have these beneficial benefits of culture. So if we translate these sort of cultural texts into different languages, then they learn, they come to people, different people come to appreciate our culture. And as they come to appreciate and come to value the beneficial effect of it, then that will inspire more investigation and helps towards preservation. So then many great Tibetan scholars and Tibetans who were inspired by the intention to benefit others have been translating and have been working really hard to translate, to undertake these translations. So I don't think these great scholars and these great beings would dig their own graves.
Kempo, Quatinche, Joki Sunshe de la Pe Yahuting Zamo, Re any Nye Tiwadi and the Mutuni, Tanda Sumbananshi, Gunsurgi Rineta. Any tangrab chen ki tserik tan den to bagne nyambu doya ke ini tapsi khande thengu ri ta di nga khatu yene di le samlo dangi ye ini ngone tani langlen khande ta gri pen iphone yina kana pui yor ba ta di nga sambala ngone tani pento ye ta di dobo ina Kambula ke karsa samlo khande gongshi khande do.
Laso ta de sorjin dan tene tangrap ke jignin da ta maung nirkamna nge samlo tana tene perna chi mara shia da chi sonya ga 다 디모가 네서 쇼나 빼 요보레 삼가요 체레제나 당운이가 가산대랑 당럽 거치 럭처다는 차릉도 초이나 당 순장원은 그 조아미 릭 착네 따따가 vardı 지 텐자빈 페지 쇼 맘뇽 왔다가 당선 참통보서 통을 레다나 옛나야 나츠 셈그 대체금 손장 싸움 당나야 장원은 그 탐측 그 등을 그단 나즈드 따따는 좀 맘뇽 왔다가 기려래 단도 다리가 소도 지 나츠 소르긴다나 당럽니가 차 맘님부 싸움로 네서 어네스당 차버찬즈레 삼고요 대니나 지 지만디 타다 돈덕 치드 나수 낙출그 런탕더 근데 낙전 몽스 그 따따 시기온 말에 니 런탕더 이화스드 그 시기다는 직 근데 돈덕 니시다 그 당럽 그 르네다나 당럽 그 넘버야 찍거다 자동문자가 당선 처차단 생활야 찍거더니 더니 까차다는 그 잠자 몽스건지 단드수 그 니바시기다 니 더니 돈덕 선바드 치리제니나 당아츠 지 셰르 탐케라 때니다나 회나 나글 그냥 마슈르위 당럽 거다리 차는데 위슈시죠다 하장 가르침 버렸삼고 회나 아이폰 산업 당나야는 띠양 라마 그 도본 가레게는 단디나나요나 오이기요나 때 인치민치메게는 또 여보 말해서래다 때 잠세요 지금 고바마크 당상 ngazu pok lama thamche ke chuchsha na yang chama dan tene da simcher dan te iphone dan dimotsu thamche ke shako ner te ina yang ma choji make dana da zud ji ngazu nachur ge di rentang da nachur ge namba de mani baz de ngibre go ina yang te ji ta chi de kola gba ton jone te ji manji baz de re ina yang di nachur ge da rentang da na di tene tati stawa de manim bi wonga te shawa de shiji janzina ta tangsang ina tene ji yang mambu zik tene nachur manim bi ko gane na tangsang ga shawa de yang jibna ta ji natang nyamjir ga tariga lambo chen de la ta perna shaga shwa jandana tene dariga ndo shoko nampa chodnarana te ji kangar mepan ris genjero ina yang di chadngi jinzi da shirmi jinzi menina ta tangsang nachur nyamju hajan yenka chega nachur nyam sonena ngachun joa mela dechim jongda mumjong haliste dariga tene kakak chembos gitiriyo ko sam
I think I don't know, it's difficult to tell that there will be the clash between tradition and modernity or modern sort of progress and ideas and technology. And if that comes ahead, if there is such a collision, sort of an irreconcilable collision, that will be as something tragic for humanity. That is really something upsetting. I think we can see in this day and at this time period in world history, we can see in terms of technological development, it is unprecedented. We have reached at an incredible level of technological advancement. However, again, in terms of our mental anxieties and depressions and challenges, we also have a huge challenge at that level. So what I sort of would say is that for the young, for the youth, that to be able to appreciate the value of tradition, the beneficial qualities of tradition, and to value this whilst also to see the sort of negative impacts and effects of electronic communication or modern progressive phenomena and sort of electronic distractions. Come to aware of it, but then to use modern developments and material advancements and electronic information technology and all the sort of progressive advancements we made in this field, to use that to preserve, use that in a way to preserve the beneficial sides, the beneficial features of tradition. This is in terms of, for even if we use iPhone, some Tibetan lamas, some Tibetan monks regard it, even if it has a Tibetan language inside it, it's a distraction. It's not that beneficial. But I don't think so, because it really, through these electronic forms of media, through iPhone, through the internet, teaching, contemporary teaching is taking place. So there's a way of sort of combining these two in a beneficial way. So trying to find that sort of, discover such a point.
Thank you, Khenpo. So for yourself, who's a Tibetan Buddhist master, spreading Tibetan culture and religion in a predominantly Chinese-speaking world, what kind of challenges do you face inside China when it comes to Tibetan culture and Tibetan Buddhism?
시집고 다 뭐 속바즈인데 zonte 속바데 야차야 담바 tene ji kakak mepi 속바즈도 харнап надан гангэркапнаян мебартавэр самгё тэнэ гэргин үнэян чи яна чи тобаг цад тумбузга тэвона таде чи какак дана варчитимоде занба мебазгонэрэ татела ян ранкэр гөвшэрдэн гэмэзгэнэ зонтэ саян тарига 요요 конже да янаян хойна ngin үнэна tene yanaq ji chuba cholat ge chu shwerji nan jaga rangat mayen bag shawa kangdang kang jumnayan zumba yachimbo kyekyo ranga ji tangbo de amgdan da daqtankir yong charne zonte tistanga jo tomato yachaga ter zumba kyekyo yinayan karten jmato na tela ji chet yang dingor yachimbo zgan zamba chimbo shikme zumba shidin da de manjil sona yang 이나양 당만 있는 샤와데 접티데 약속 레와즈다나 테네 독속 년감 중에 있나 다 칠트르데 돈는 체기우 수상로데 흥은도 조이고 그 샤와데 진이 적적 조진요
Yes, in terms of if it's a group, or regardless of being a group or individual, you come to face challenges, different challenges. And these challenges, when I myself, when I go and teach, I prepare for challenges ahead, and I have a task in hand, and I put my effort, full effort, implementing this task and making sure I put that into practice. And sometimes I face challenges, but this not necessarily upsets me or disrupts me. So what I do is that before I go ahead and commit myself to an undertaking, I sort of prepare for it from a positive angle, but always also plan for the obstacles that lay ahead.
Rumche Oxford la pena bangan changme kita sonam sure reja ana pe ka chongson tari tu sungchue nya ra ana game tu sna ya tu sra tari nge thwa di na kharesna ke di na la ya ke di na so ge ne de pheje ge khorum da tu ne rimbe sin du ya pheje chin den yo ke di na la ya rinne da dun zo kita ta di ge chenyi da dun zo ge xie je dun zo ke di na la ya rang xin chin lu ju den yo den de jin za manzo ta phe ke da ane tunzo nyam ba chimbe na manzo phire ke da maong ba de ta phe rinne pe chi cha yun chen che tu ba cha cha na manzo phe mi maong ba de da khande ji cha do yin na sia di ta manzo cho ji ne rinne jin jin cho ni ne phe ge mi ri sia di ge ne tu bia tende rinpe ni ga ne sam ta ba na ane khande ji cha yu na s ne ge tende ji ta pe chi cha na manzo phi ge ge yi to ne da en ji to ne nang chue dong zu jiang ba da ya phe rang ni phi rang ge to ne nang chue jiang ba di ni ke ba khan de ji du yu na
la so ka zhen chi chi nam ba ge de ni shi dong ge nga chung po ge zhe ge ni la de ta wi sem kher xue ji de bei man zha ba ka zhen qin bo re yin na yang 땅에 때나 베나 이게 땅아 갈때 다리가 진 마지르 지잔제나 아주 진등 그 까차샤티 때양 다지 워크 코나 샤근드나 막도 제만나더니 다리가 인지가 따는 야르끗 다까자양 다리 그더니 장거까차 마우장나 장거까차 그고니더니 땅수 워크 추인난자고 샤와인난자 강초이나 샷고니 워탐지요니 르그니즈니 zonti 텐디 까차 그고니나 야지 인르끗 따는 야르끗 따는 거르가 잠바가 마시드나 가지는라 텐이 이게가 카테 게르마니네 까차게한테 마시드나 가지는라 니처 디모즈가 쳐요다 삼지고 직도인 데네 니시다케나 나츠 워크 당알라 할리치 그 셈크리오노즈가 당선 워이르그 데네 에또 로총 몽보즈그 데네 지 워크 따는 워이그난다 디모소 라레 메시 라레 시다야나 티 돈다는 측은도 저 탐치다 다리 셈크르시도 하정 용어연 데네 지 셜록 그영가 다리 너쇼고 지 사차나 요노 추영 지 다른 거 다리 워크챗고나 지 워크초 머시데나 인지다나 잠바 수르카샷 대전다나 지 워추고 난돈 때야나 다리 워크 글람네야 마시 인지라 소바가 장글 남네야나 지 여하즈 마토 이크론디 마츠 다리가 워크 난추도 지금 너쇼고 먼저서 탐치 그 시기요 막도 되면은 그래서 오빠 능거지 메시지년 가장 첨보가 나 샘커 돼요. 근데 양 뒤스다가 나주 오빠서 회 창마드는 더 기르냐는 말은 더 셰냐는 말이지 창마가 틈도 있다는 곰바가 끝그 능거 정정적지나 남식가 내ርከ나 오늘 전에 그 다리가 지금 끝마다는 니모고 잼통 근거는 앞기 용에 그 샴지 막도 되면은 가이 시도하면 난도 시도하면은 워근도 자나 마우지르누 개변가 체는다 다가 닌카가 체는 니 다다 다가 산로 미란 책당 고지들
Yeah, so if we look at, if there's this question of should we translate Dharmic teachings in the written form into other languages or not, and then the question of, also the question arises that should we actually orally translate these Dharmic teachings or not. So a great complex rises. A huge complex of translation question rises, and the translation, of course, is vital. But the second thing is that there is a definite danger, and it does makes me sort of anxious, is that inside Tibet, as well as Tibetans in the West and more liberal environment, they both tend to be using more and more, even in their spoken language, using other foreign language or their sort of adoptive, the language of the adoptive country. So inside Tibet, there's more and more Chinese are being used in the vocabulary. Outside, more English and other language are being used. And then there is this danger also that Tibetans themselves do not understand or the message of their Dharmic teaching through their own language. So they need to get this through other languages. Yes, that is a challenge. But also through the other language, they do not also get it, because the other language translation, the standard of translation may not be good enough. So in that sense, something is being lost, literally being lost in translation. The message, the Dharmic message is being lost. And so this is a serious challenge. And if we look at some of the books and scriptures that sometimes monks and lamas and Tibetans say, oh, this shouldn't be translated. This is sealed, it's secret. And so secretly hidden away, sealed, some texts are buried, sort of hidden away in monastic chapels and in recesses. And so if this kind of texts, maybe a thief or somebody steals it and might end up in a museum or somewhere, but it's not translated, so the message is lost. So yes, that is a big challenge.
We are just going to have one very short last question, and then I think that will bring tonight's teaching to a conclusion.
Thank you very much, Khenpo, for your time and your patience. My question is, would you please explain to me, explain to us, what is the difference between compassion and Buddha nature? And also, I have another question. I hope you can answer in a very brief way, which is in terms of reincarnation. how do you actually approach to the Western audience about this, like completely different ideas? I know we talk about it in a kind of like a relative truth in Tibetan Buddhism. Thank you very much.
다 체르제나 조 시험 양제제견도 시험바도 어전 셈친 대화당 단총나 삼디우 대 삼바스리 냥지도 되는 등어당 짜송나 삼나스 되니 샹칩 그 셈도 되니 어전 로아 셈친 탐쳤도 되니 남지가 내급나 상디 고망 톱송나 삼누 되니 셔버 족상 라먹나다나 되니 강섬 그 셈친 탐쳤도 등을 기담 제밥 짜송나 삼디우 또 냥지 잔돈 라먹바 다 디모 캬버요 되니나 샹냥지도 샹칩 그 셈그 지리 다 샹칩 그 셈도 되니 다림 제버타바 되니 그 캬버 짐제타바 쳐고
As compassion and Buddhahood are the essence of Mahayana vehicle. And compassion is, both the compassion and kindness, is the intention, the motivation to the aspiration that other beings be free from suffering and gain happiness. And also the compassion is the cause of Buddhahood, and Buddhahood is the sort of effect, the result of compassion and kindness, and Buddhahood is the benefit, the to gaining enlightenment for the well-being of others and affect others to gain also enlightenment.
Tani chawani ba tani ta nabshuk jianchi ge namshig zin jana zuo de tani ngzu ngurmbo chi ge songni wardu tuzhe chenbo de ge jinji ge ter to nam ji ter ne ton ba te yore ta te na tangsang derang nga zhongi tani tare lobcha chenmone huimzo kenggen ge yangjig song 체르제나 또 니스톰 찌르글로 되네 다 인지글 같고 겨 되네 자마 파르치르 다티 나낙 사르카 쳔보 메카다나 찌르통 기비아 찌르글로로 다리 되네 찌르통 기비아 니시 잡든 글로 되네 다 뎁뎁데 다리 화천 조는 데 하장 짝치고 그 송원제 다 회나 띠능나 되네 와르도거 남적다나 시빌 남적 연제 되네 다 무신이 그거 와르도 냥슴 저네 지마 당수 나초거 갑나 캬버데야나 투르 그 찰럭다나 양럭 다 이게 수능이 있나 되네 그거 덴조다나 간조 라속바 되네 출르 잠바에 하장 제사 출르 잠바에 하장 다리가 집물군이나 되네 가수 오지 나탄 거갑나 송오늘에 되니나 데란데네 지 따티초거나야 제라즈이나 지 만조거다 옛나야 지 카테 모바이오지이나 당이야 다리가 저추레 대전다나 지 삼추레 되네 어종 몬즈그나나 대담제juk 되네 카차 몬즈 그 셋교 되나 파르체와 그 대rem지 다리가 어즈르고나
in terms of death and rebirth, which is mostly dealt in Bardo Tudul, the enlightened, what the Bardo through hearing, which is the Tibetan Book of Dead, which this morning I had the opportunity to see and was translated into English in 1919, is it? And in 1927, I think it was published. And in there, it has got detailed explanations of death and detailed explanations of the wanderings and roaming in the stage of Bardo towards the conception. And also from different perspectives of religious traditions, it's explained in a detailed way. So today I do not have time to go into detail about this sort of descriptive passages of Bardo Tudul, the Book of the Dead. But if you would like to find more about it, then I could introduce you to some of my works and to texts that elaborate on this.
Thank you everybody for coming this evening. Thank you, Khenpo, very much.
Shantar Jiva